Dandadan. Now, this manga series definitely ranks pretty high as one of the most absurd plots that I've ever seen in a manga. And now that it is the fall and the anime is coming out, I do want to give a review on the manga series thus far. It is still ongoing, and who knows how it's gonna end. A lot of people have had some thoughts on what the look of the anime is compared to the look of the manga, but stick around till the end to hear my thoughts. For now, I want to go over what this series actually is, because the title, unlike many other titles out there, does not exactly give away what the plot is or what you should be expecting from this manga series. Dandadan features two characters, Momo and Ken, although I will be calling him Okarun for the rest of the video because that is what his eventual nickname will be. Now, Momo has not the greatest dating reputation because she's kind of shallow when it comes to picking her guys. She always picks people that remind her of celebrities. One day she notices some kids are picking on Okarun, and in an indirect way she kind of stands up for him, which later on leads to him trying to befriend her, even though that wasn't really her intention to be friends with this guy. He becomes, attached to the fact that she gave him the time of day. And that's when she learns that he believes in aliens and UFOs and all that kind of stuff, to which she thinks is very silly. Ironically, she also believes in ghosts and psychics and all of that other stuff, which he thinks is very silly. And part of the reason why she believes in this stuff is because her grandmother is actually a psychic, and she used to be mocked in school for this, actually. So this little disagreement between them actually leads to them challenging one another, having them each visit these places where aliens and ghosts are supposed to have appeared. Now, they are separated from each other over a phone call as they visit these places, and they're very, very spooky. So in an average anime, the idea is they're just trying to scare each other, and by the end of the chapter they just grow closer to each other, despite the fact that they never really discover any aliens or ghosts. And we seem to be heading in that same direction. As they talk to each other over the phone, they do seem to bond a little bit more. But just as they are sure that there are no ghosts and aliens there, they show up. And oh boy, are they spooky! So Okarun faces a granny ghost who is known for being able to run very, very fast, and as you can imagine, he does not quite outrun her. While as Momo faces these aliens who also want to probe her. Yes, that. It's the classic fit as much fan service as you can in the first chapter so you can sell people on the series. However, there are other people out there who are going to be very uncomfortable with that kind of opening. Me, myself, yes, I do get very uncomfortable when it comes to these scenes of rape or molestation, especially so when it is monster on human. That is just another level up. Okarun, on the other hand, has the granny want to suck his schlong, so they're both kind of being molested in this scenario. And Okarun does get successfully cursed by Turbo Granny, so I guess she did suck his schlong, which we never really mention or talk about further on into the series, about how this underage high schooler got his schlong sucked by Granny. So Okarun appears to rescue Momo while he is also being cursed by this ghost. However, he has trouble maintaining control of his body while he's using the spirit's powers. And just as all hope seems lost, Momo's psychic abilities awaken, which were passed down from her grandmother. And they're both able to defeat the villains. Yay, happy ending, they're friends now. But Okarun is still cursed by an evil spirit. So this problem needs to be fixed. And what better way to fix this problem than for Momo to take him to see her super psychic grandma, who naturally looks like she's in her 20s. Now they do eventually remove the evil spirit from Okarun and put it into one of those cutesy, the cat charms, whatever they're called. Because she sucked his schlong, it is gone. It is disappeared and not on his body anymore. And the hook of the series seems to be, okay, he's gotta get his schlong back somehow. But I guess the writer changed their mind at some point, because when he does get his schlong back, he loses his balls. You know what they say about equivalent exchange, right folks? So they try to make this make a little bit more sense by saying, oh, well actually, the male testicles actually have superpowers within them, and those who get these balls, they're gonna be powerful and stuff. So it's gonna be really, really tricky trying to get a hold of the spirits who might have your balls, Okarun. Okay, well, I don't buy it, but I appreciate your effort trying to make this make sense. I do have to question, like, are there other evil spirits out there that are stealing other guys' testicles? Is this just a problem for our main character, or are there other guys going through this problem? Because if balls are this powerful, I imagine a lot of evil creatures would want them. So as you can imagine, this series had a lot going against it for me when I was first getting into it. I'm getting into this series and I'm thinking to myself, like, what kind of gooner manga am I reading right now? So I would like to add this disclaimer: this is not as sexual of a manga as the beginning leads you to thinking. In fact, I think probably the most disturbing and sexualized thing is that first chapter where you see Momo almost getting raped by what seems to be a very painful instrument, and just kind of the general knowledge that Okarun had his dick sucked. That is as peak disturbing as it gets. But this is actually a horror comedy series that features these two main characters fighting all kinds of different monsters, aliens, and evil spirits that they come across. And there's a lot of genuinely interesting and fun stories that they tell across this series, strengthening the bond between these two characters, which eventually, of course, will be a romance. And because romance manga has been so good at this lately, yes, we do get a confession. We actually get some sort of a conclusion, and I do actually like the confession scene. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Unfortunately, they're still not dating, despite the fact that he confessed. And it's one of those awkward things the writer needs to figure out along the way. Some writers are just kind of a little bit too insecure about writing two characters dating and letting the series go on with them dating. But I do hope we see that moving forward. Part of the reason why I kept reading this, despite the opening, is actually because I love these two characters so much. I love the setup behind these two characters when we're first being introduced to them. I love how they both have like this kind of messy hair aesthetic. Oh my god, the character designs are fantastic. The art for Dandadan is probably on my top 10 favorite manga art of all time. Maybe that seems like a very extreme thing to say, but oh my god, it gets better and better and better as we go on. It's already great when you first start off the series, but it gets so good when you're really deep into the series. The action scenes, oh my god, I need to study these for sure. They're so high energy, they're so detailed, and for the people who are similar to me and do get really skeeved out when it comes to, it is kind of crazy that they just let Okarun get his dick sucked by the old turbo granny, huh? It's even weirder because they like kind of become friends later on. Anyway, I think that if you do give Dandadan the chance that it deserves, it will surprise you by how fun it is and how beautiful the art is as the artist improves more and more going on. And the last arc really surprised me with these real hard-hitting emotional beats that I was not expecting, including, of course, the confession scene. We live in an era where finally we can get the romance confession and not have the series immediately end. But now let's briefly talk about the anime. Obviously, there's not much to go on about the anime so far. One of the complaints is that the art for the show looks pretty flat compared to the art in the manga. And I can say, yes, yeah, the art does look flat in the anime. It does not look as good as it looks in the manga. It's part of the reason why I'd recommend you check out the manga. Check out this beautiful art. It's one of my top 10 favorite artists. And of course, the anime does not quite capture it. I think maybe part of it is because there's such a high demand for anime. A lot of studios are utilizing a lot of 3D models and a lot of shortcuts to get to a finished anime, which I don't think is by itself a bad thing, but I do know that this is going to kind of change the overall look that we're gonna see in future anime. And you take a look at Kaiju number 8. Now, when that series came out, people were talking about the changes in the character designs because Kaiju number 8, the manga, had a very distinct art style. And then for the anime, their faces look really rounded, really derpy. It looks like they're just tracing over 3D models. But I did watch all of the Kaiju number 8 anime, and I thought it was a decent adaptation. Even though I don't agree that the changes in the character designs were good, I really like the original art style and look of the manga, but it's still a decent adaptation. I still had a lot of fun watching the Kaiju number 8 anime. And so I don't want to really jump to judge the Dandadan anime just based on the artwork alone. It could still be a decent adaptation, even if the art is not as up to par with the manga. So before I can say whether or not the Dandadan anime is a good adaptation, I'd rather honestly watch the whole thing and, decide for myself, is this a good translation of what I experienced reading the manga? But either way, I would recommend most people to always look back at the manga that an anime is based on. Always look back at the source material, especially this one, because the art is fantastic. So there's my general review. I wanted to keep it as spoiler-free as I could, but I do have to mention, of course, the beginning of the series, because that's relative to what to expect from the series, and you should really know what you're getting into when you're getting into it. You should know right away that when you're reading Dandadan, it's not for kids, it's not for teens, it is actually made for adults. It's got some explicit material in there. But let me know what you think of Dandadan down below in the comments section. Like the video if you did enjoy, if you'd like to see more Manga Mondays from me. And what do you think of the anime series? Do you think it's a good adaptation? Do you think that it looks bad? If you didn't know already, I write my own independent comics and I publish independent comics, and you can check those out on burningstarcomics.net if you are curious to see what we're working on. We have 12 titles already up there, we have original art, we have posters and merch. It's on the up and up, guys. And you can also join the subscribe star if you'd like to see some sneak peeks from my comics. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Program restart.